I used to go to fucking what's the place, Red Robin, where they have the bottomless root beer floats.
Yeah.
And I would order that, and then I would just keep ordering shots and pouring them into the root beer floats.
That's the coolest thing I've ever heard.
I don't know if you have sponsors.
No. The first episode we did, I was very excited to show Mike Hammock my cucumber soda. He said,
Cucumber soda?
"It's so good. It's delicious." And he said, "This is the worst thing I've ever tasted."
I bet it was
so.
fucking terrible.
we lost the sponsor opportunity right off the bat. Well, hey. Well, did I turn this on? Shit. Yeah. All right. I'm still new. I'm still new at this.
Look, we're breaking it in.
Thanks for coming.
Come on, Russ. I'm trying to get you drunk.
This is Bubble Boy. Johnny's here. He's bullying me. He's peer pressuring me.
I'm peer pressuring him. Look.
We had to wait for my wife to leave.
Come on, Bubble Boy.
To ask you to come over.
Am I not liked by your wife?
No, I feel bad doing this when she's around. Because,
Okay.
well, you take care of the kid and the dogs. I'm going to go have my friend in the other room, and we're going to hang out
That's the whole
for 2
point.
hours.
That's what it is.
I know. I still feel guilty about it.
No, dude.
So
you
I wait
gotta,
for her to leave.
How old's your kid?
3.
Okay, give yourself a couple more years.
Yeah,
Like-
she started preschool yesterday.
Okay.
I will feel less guilty when she's in school all the time.
Well, my thing. Look, I got 2 of them things, and any chance I get, I'm away.
You're barely attached.
Yeah, well, dude. I work all fucking day.
Yeah.
I take care of them after I get home from work, and then like I barely had. Now we got this new fucking puppy, so it's just.
Do you have a puppy?
Yeah, we got
on top of new baby.
Yeah, dude.
That's a lot of effort.
I got a puppy for the kids for Christmas.
That's very
All right.
sweet.
Because both of my kids
Brand new or like a year old?
brand new, 3-month-old.
What a
shitting
nightmare!
all over
what
the place.
An absolute
Oh my
nightmare.
god, dude, it was such a cute idea. Like it was the first time. Like I was like, dude, let's go all out on this Christmas. You know, like let's get a dog for fucking Christmas. And then 2 days into it, I was like, dude, what the fuck did I do? I was like, what did I do to myself?
I can't. My brother and I, when we lived together, he went and got a puppy. And he specifically was like, "Oh, I found the cutest puppy," after I'd asked him. And my wife peer pressured him into it too. But I'm like, please don't get a puppy. I'm going to be a nightmare. We have shag carpet in this condo. It's going to be a mess. And he's like, don't worry. I found a puppy. He was the cutest one. He was the one chewing on concrete on the side of the road. Like, oh, you got the dumbest idiot, stupid dog. Yeah. And then he destroyed all of our furniture. It's not easy to like wet vac shit out of a shag carpet.
No, not at all.
An absolute nightmare. And I would never wish another puppy on another person. Get like a 6-year-old dog.
Dude, no way.
Get a beaten down.
No. I can't bring a dog with a personality into the house.
Yeah.
You got to get a dog so you realize who you are. Like the kids are definitely like they mimic you, but a dog like immediately, if it's like anxious and like fucking frightened, you're like, oh god, I'm a terrible person.
I had to stop playing like online shooters because of my dog.
Oh yeah.
Because my dog would leave the room every time I held an Xbox controller. It's like, it's single player from now on.
That was my dog. That was my anytime you're walk out of the room. I'm like, god damn it, I'm really that person. I'm really that person.
I like to think I have it together until I get kill spawned a couple times, and then all of a sudden, I'm a racist. I let it fly.
100%. Dude, that was when I was in the Air Force and living in the dorms. That was my problem. Was I would scream at the video games, and because I sound the way I do, they thought it was a white dude in there. I'm shouting all sorts of racial slurs. The game just brings it out of you. It just pulls it right on out, and that's why I don't really play Call of Duty as much as I should anymore.
You don't want your kids to?
No, hell no. They already hear me saying shit at other drivers, so they don't need to.
Are you road ragey?
Dude, I'll snap. I'll snap at instant. I was driving the other day and some chick cut me off and I just fucking, you fucking bitch, what's wrong with you? And then my daughter,
as Baby Shark is on the radio.
Right. No, as my gangsta music is on the radio. I don't curtail nothing. I'm listening to my music. I don't care if the kids are in the car. I'm listening to all my gangbanging music. I'm listening to all. I don't listen to my fucking music. Not well, because that's more explicit than the gangbanging. But yeah. And then I was yelling at the chick, and then my daughter was like, "What does she do?" I was like, "She's trying to fucking kill us." So I know they're gonna be great drivers when they're older. Just give my daughter anxiety about the road before she can even think about holding a steering wheel.
Something that makes me anxious about you as a father is that whenever we talk about it, you're aware of the decisions you're making. It's not like you're a piece of shit father who's unaware. You're cognizant of the actions you're making and the repercussions of them in your children's lives. And that's what makes me anxious.
Well, no, I think I'm doing fine. I know I'm wild, but I think because I'm aware and I address it, I'm never like trying to like, oh no, daddy's fine. It's like daddy's pissed off, all right? Daddy's ready to fuck some shit up. That.
Daddy's not well.
I think the honesty is the main factor. And like it's not like my parents lied about all that stuff, but there's a lot of stuff when I was growing up I was like, they ain't saying everything.
Yeah. And
you're not supposed to, but there are certain things where I'm just like, hey, I'm fucking angry right now, so you're just gonna have to deal with it.
Yeah. My daughter, she's gotten to the point where she last night, I was just driving her around because it was close to her bedtime, and I'm like, if I just drive around a little bit, I won't have to try and put her to bed. She'll fall asleep in the car. So I'm just gonna drive in circles.
Oh, that's way too much effort for me.
It's so much more effort to try and get her to bed than just to drive in a car.
Have you gone crazy on her yet? Have you let the demon out in front of her yet?
Probably.
If you get her to recognize when the demon's coming out, like, you get the fucking bed, like that, if you do.
I did.
And then you just start walking. You just start walking towards that line. Like, all right, I don't want to see that. Well, I'll just go to bed.
So as I'm trying to get her to sleep in the car last night, she would like doze off and then go, "Daddy, I got a question for you." And I go, "Yeah, what is your question?" And she'd go, "My question is, why are you mad at me right now?" She would just try not to fall asleep to see how long it would take me to get mad. And then she would start, she's like, "Why are you angry right now? Why are you using your mad voice with me right now?" So she's I need to shut some of this down. I need her to start repressing a little bit more. She's making me question my own behavior. There's definitely, and I don't like that.
You gotta, especially the daughter. The daughter's going to test. They're going to walk the line. The boy's just going to destroy stuff.
Sure.
My boy's, he's just destructive, and I have to, fucking bottle that up. But the daughter, oh, my God. Right, dude, whole attitude, whole thoughts, and it's just like, hey, you need to shut up. 'Cause you're about to open up a can of worms you don't want to open up right now.
You're making Daddy explore his feelings, and you don't want to see what's under.
No, not even. Just like, hey, what do you pay around here? Let's figure that out real quick, because I feel like you don't pay shit in this fucking house. So why are you running your mouth like that? She talks to me like she's 20 years old, so I talk right back at her like she's 20 years old. I mean, you don't do shit around here. Before you start making demands.
There is an element of, I think that is, healthier is a strong word.
Look, I'm not going to tell you it's healthy.
It's healthier than a lot of, like, there's some households, especially like good Christian households, where we don't talk about anything. Mm. We don't fight, we don't argue, you don't speak back to us. The only thing we are here to do as your parents is to teach you to be obedient to us, your parents.
Right.
And you don't get to have any kind of peace in this. You don't get to have a conversation. You don't get to say anything to us. You are to be an automaton who serves my needs. That's not good. So it's probably better to have a little bit of a relational.
Look, she owns her part of the house. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, she has her space. We allow her to be her own person. But I definitely have to be like, hey, who the fuck you talking to? Why do you talk to me like that? I go, because you're fucking 6? Like,
because I'm stronger than you?
Dude, I was like, dude, I'm twice your size. Like, I will fuck you up. Like, it's. And there's been times I've caught her where she's like glaring at me. I go, hey, who you glaring at? And I'll get her. I'm like, who you trying to fuck? I was like, do you know what you're communicating with that face right now? And she'd be like, what? I was like, that you want to whoop my ass. I'm going to tell you right now.
Do you think there's an element of you bringing the attitude is instilling in her an attitude?
100%.
This is what I'm saying. You're fully aware. You're like, yeah, it's my fault in the first place.
Well, no. Look, it's given her. Look, she has a great sense of self. She's very independent as a 6-year-old. So, I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll figure it out.
movies.
We'll figure it out when she's 18 if she chooses to strip or not. If I still got a couple more years.
Stripping is always, the worst thing that can happen to your daughter. Not the worst thing that can happen to your daughter. There's worse things.
I'm trying to think because is there a honorable way to strip?
No, however,
You don't think so?
no way. But the one time when I did Wheel of Doom at Looney's and I got stand up in your underwear, I agreed to do that ahead of time, knowing underwear on stage could be an option. I agreed to do that for $20.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, I know that's on
dirty?
the table. And then when I started doing it, people started throwing money at me. I made $88 by the end of the night. I'm like, I will come back and do this every week for $88. So if my daughter is pulling in good living.
How much money does a stripper need to make for you to be like, this is fine?
That's a great question.
Because if you're only pulling in like $20 a dance.
Oh, no.
you
don't want to be the Tuesday, 3 p.m.
Go work at, what is it, Big R? Is that what it is? Go work at Big R. You could go work there. Go work at Chili's.
Let's see. Because $80,000 a year is a respectable amount to make, but to strip is $80,000 a year enough to be just a stripper?
I think
Is that
so.
enough to sell?
I mean, what tier of work are we talking here? Would you respect a Chili's waitress
Making $80,000 a year?
versus a stripper?
Yeah, much more.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's just stripping without taking your clothes off. Waitressing?
So I do have to tell you that stripping, a big part of it is the taking your clothes off. That's 90% of it.
No, it's not. I would, for the layman, yes.
Okay.
For the layman.
For the amateur.
For the amateur, yes, taking the clothes off is 90%. For me, I enjoy going and watching the
manipulation.
the allure. You know what I'm saying? Because if it's just like a stripper and she's just up there like, oh, here's my titties. Like, I don't want to I'm not giving you money. But if you're like doing,
It's got to be like the first time, every time.
If you're hypnotizing me, that's different. You got to hypnotize me.
I can't imagine going to a strip club. That sounds like
We should go.
That sounds like the worst of all my experiences.
No, we should go. Look,
Shameful sex. That's already terrible. It's dirty and disgusting. Next up, now I feel so bad for you that I'm overdoing my customer
Hell
service.
no.
I'm like, no, that's all right.
Hell
you don't
no.
have to do that. No, thank you. No, thank you, ma'am. Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you so much. I so appreciate that.
All right, so what we got to do is we got to find a strip club where there's where there's pool tables or like another activity to do. That's where I learned like how to hang out in a strip club. I was living in Florida with my brother, and there was a strip club that was it was literally within walking distance of our house. So we would go there and get trash so we wouldn't have to drive. And we would go in, and we would just go in, shoot pool, order drinks, have a blast. Once the strippers realized we weren't there to pay them or see them naked and shit like that, that's when they started coming over hanging out. And that's when it was strip clubs are awesome. And for me, it's more like a state fair. You just go. There's pretty lights.
If there was more
alcohol.
Fried food there, maybe I'd think about it.
100%. You just got to find the right strip club. You don't want to find I hate the aggressive strip clubs where they're just 40. They're in your face. I could do a dance. No. Go. You got to lure me in. Throw the line out there. Don't just straight up.
I'm so focused on the line that you said I had to learn how to be in a strip club.
You do, man.
That's same thing with drinking. People are like, oh, you don't like it at first. You have to learn how to like it. If I have to learn how to like it, I don't want to do it. That sounds. No,
I don't think you had enough trauma to be good at drinking. I think that's what it is.
My parents loved me.
My parents loved me, but I watched them down some fucking alcohol, and I was like, oh, so that's how you do it.
My dad. He's not going to listen to this.
Do we want to drink before you
Sure.
start talking about your father?
Dad's root beer. Crown Royale.
Come on, this is a total dad.
So genuinely, I don't know what I'm doing. Do I sip it? Do I slam the whole
slam
thing?
the whole thing. It's gonna suck because you hate drinking.
Uh-huh.
But just get it. the faster you get done with it, the faster you can drink your root beer.
Well, if I get to drink root beer afterwards.
Yeah, look, I used to go to fucking what's the place, Red Robin, where they have the bottomless root beer floats.
Yeah.
And I would order that, and then I would just keep ordering shots and pouring them into the root beer floats. And I would have a fucking blast in there. I have a fucking blast in there.
That's the coolest thing I've ever heard.
See, there are cool ways to drink. I'm telling you.
That is cool. That's what we would do in high school when we had no money. You get bottomless fries, bottomless root beer floats.
Right.
6 of you, and it costs $12. You don't tip.
That's right.
They give you terrible service because they know.
Come on.
All right.
Come on, Dad.
That's not yummy. That's not yummy at all. What do you think of the root beer, though?
It is a good root beer.
It's America's premium root beer.
Hold it in, Russell.
My tummy hurts.
Look, just cover it up with root beer. Cover it up with root beer.
The root beer helps.
It does. Look, and if you mix it, it's usually pretty good.
The last time I threw up from alcohol, it's happened 3 times. The last time was I was doing shows down in Trinidad. It was the Chief Comedy Festival.
Okay. Not offensive to Native Americans at all.
It was offensive to me. It was a terrible, horrible time. And while I was there, I got bullied. Kelsey Rosen and Elliot Weber.
Okay.
I was drinking with
Those
them.
are some good people to get you drinking.
They're fun. They're a hoot and a holler. But I kept drinking Strongbow.
Oh, Jesus. Was that like the cider?
Yeah, and they
So
were like tall boys. And
you got to get away. That's too much sugar, man.
So I drank 3 of those, which is a lot of liquid, a lot of sugar. And then Elliot Weber was like, take a shot, prove you don't hate gay people. I'm like, well, that logic adds up. I can't. And as soon as I did it, the incident hit my stomach. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna puke.
That's where you got to get that self-control in.
I don't know if it was too much just liquid or if someone told me there's a rhyme that there's like, oh, beer before liquor, never sicker or something like that. But something about 3 Strongbows and then a shot on top of that. I just went and
That
puked.
sounds like a good time.
I did.
You know how I drink? I get a shot and a beer every time. I take a shot and I start drinking my beer. And then by the time I'm done with that, I'm ready for another shot and another beer. It's just you gotta train your stomach. That's really all you gotta do. You gotta abuse yourself.
I don't wanna train it. That was yucky. That was bad. I didn't like it. I like the root beer. The root beer's nice. The root beer's never hurt me. I've never thrown up from too much Pepsi.
I bet you could.
I could, but I haven't because I've trained my body. My body's a temple.
For Pepsi and root beer.
But my dad, when my mom left him, he spiraled so hard that he couldn't go to bed at night without drinking a Mike's Hard Lemonade.
Oh, that's
a single Mike's Hard Lemonade.
Look.
Like, there's nothing more Keller.
It would have been less sad if you said you'd have to get blackout drunk.
It's the scariest. There's nothing scarier than a single Mike's Hard Lemonade.
To be reliant on a single Mike's Hard Lemonade.
And that's what gets you through.
Oh, my
That's
God.
a man on the edge.
Ugh,
that's
yes,
a
it is. That's a man on
That's
the
a man
edge.
grinding his teeth at night.
Goddamn right it is. Dude, a single Mike's Hard?
One Mike's Hard.
No. I could look.
Never touched alcohol in his life. And then when my mom left, he's like, one
Just
strawberry lemonade a night. That's the only way I can go to sleep.
Not even the original Mike's Hard. It's got to be the specialty flavor.
It was too sour. He needed That's the only way you can make it through.
So you don't feel like you're missing out not drinking the way everybody else does?
No. There's
No.
like getting a little tipsy is fun.
Right.
There is like, oh, I'm being loosey goosey. I'm saying stuff I normally wouldn't say. I'm being all kinds of wacky and fun. But I have this thing that I don't like. I don't like the feeling that I'm not 100% in control right now. Like
I feel like that's all mental. That's all.
Oh yeah, of course it's all mental.
I'll get shitty, and then people are like, "Are you good?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Or like people will be like, I say,
Yeah, and you drive home.
They'll be like, oh, I sat here and watched you drink all that, and you look okay. I'm like, yeah, dude. People, and I'm not trying to talk. I'm not trying to promote DUIs, but the idea of you getting so, the idea of getting so drunk that you're like on the road like this doesn't make sense to me. How are you that drunk? Do you know how drunk I would have to be on the road like, ugh? Like I'd have to be going through something else. Like it's not just the
You're
alcohol.
also weeping.
Yeah, it's like it's the alcohol. I'm like going through a divorce or like someone died. Like that would have to be coupled with the drinking.
There's there's all these wealth and lifestyle gurus on TikTok that talk about getting rich and how you just have to have the grind mentality and all these things. A big thing they all talk about is like, if you're sick, that's a mental game. You just tell your body you're not sick today, and you get out there and grind. And that sounds like what you're going for, but with drinking and driving, like, I just tell myself
Dude, just
I'm
focus. Put in your
10
head.
and 2,
No,
eyes on the road.
Put
How
in
hard
your
is
head,
this?
if I get caught, I'm going to jail. And focus on the task at hand.
I thought getting a DUI was a bigger deal than it is. But, like, every other comedian is like, oh, yeah, I got a DUI the other day. I'm like, I thought you went away forever.
I thought
if
it
you did
fucked
that.
your life
I
up.
thought it was, I thought your life was over. You could never get a job again. All your friends would stop talking to you.
I think that's
also
just,
it's comedian, so.
I think that's the DARE program coming out of people.
Everyone has a DUI.
It feels like it. I've never gotten one, knock on wood. I don't ever knock on wood when I say it, but I've never gotten one. I don't plan on getting one.
Because you focus.
I have been pulled over while drinking and driving.
And you just played it cool?
Yeah. That's what you got to do. And I had like the worst cop. I had like the worst, like, dude got out. He's overweight. Sour look on his face. Fucking high and tight. You know how fast you were going? That guy. I had that guy and I got out of it. I was just like, oh, no, how fast was I going? You're going 65. I was like, oh, sorry, it's late. I'm trying to get home. You been drinking tonight? I was like, no, sir. And he fucking ran my shit. And he's like, all right, you just need to slow it down. And then just send me on my way. It did not look. I'm not proud. I'm kind of proud of it. It's the worst. It's the worst. It's my worst habit that I have.
Habit's an interesting word.
It's the worst
It's not
habit.
like
that
biting your nails.
It doesn't, like, the idea of having a beer and then getting behind the wheel. I'm just like, yeah. But it's what I grew up with. It's what I've seen.
Sure.
And then when I was young and I started like drinking, like when I was 21, I could actually go out to bars and get wasted. I was careful about it at first, and then there was a couple times where it was like I was at a party and shit was just getting wild. Someone pulls out a gun, cops show up, all that sort of shit, and it's like, all right, well, I gotta go. I can't call a cab right now.
That's the kind of thing where people are like, you don't wish you could get into drinking a little bit. And there are days where I think like, maybe I missed out on something. And then I'll always hear like, yeah, and I was at a party and a guy pulled out a gun. 2 people got shot. I'm like, yeah, I've never been in that situation with too much chocolate milk. It's never been a problem I've run into with buffalo tenders.
I don't know, man. It's weird. I don't know what type of alcoholic that I am, but like it's just one of those things. I don't lose control. I just enjoy drinking. I can do it, and I don't have to fight anybody. I don't have to try and fuck somebody. I'm just like, I'm gonna get my little drink on, and then I'm gonna go home and pass the fuck out, and that's about it.
I've seen you. The only time I've seen alcohol truly affect you is, do you know what I'm gonna say?
No, I don't know what you're gonna say.
When we were coming back from Comedy Works and we went to Burger King.
Oh, I did. I was trashed that
night. You bullied the drive-through boy for no reason. You just kept saying, "You work here. You work here. You serve me."
I did not say that. I did not say that. I probably said that. It was a lot. Was that the night that was that a new talent night?
It was like the it was the Up Next showcase or something like that.
Oh, dude, yeah. If I'm not driving, I'll get shitty. I'll get shitty to where it's like, oh, he's fucked up.
I think it was you, me, Mike, and Thad. And
was that Up Next? I could have sworn there was a new talent thing. I don't know, but I just know I remember that night. I got really drunk that night. I was probably going through something, but Like I told you, man, it doesn't really make me like wow out unless I'm going through something
Yeah.
else. And then I just let all that shit out, whoever's around. You know how I fucking feel right now?
You put something in the group text of like, yeah, I'm happy to drive. And Mike messaged me separately. He's like, Johnny has a lot of jokes about drinking and driving.
I don't have a lot of jokes.
Can I drive?
I have one joke about drinking and driving. I just am proud of it.
I just do it a lot.
Was this like a fucking rehab podcast now?
No.
Look, hey, John, we got 3 of your friends walking in right now. Let's talk about your...
That seems, I don't think, maybe I just don't know anyone who's in a bad enough place in life.
I mean,
Have
I've
you ever
seen
been to one of those? Like
a fucking... No.
What is it called?
Intervention.
Intervention.
No, I would love to. I would love to go to an intervention and not even like know the person. Just if they had like seating for like an audience.
They just booked a room at the Marriott that you happened by.
And you just, oh, there's an intervention going on? And then just try and fake my way in. Rob, I know you don't remember me, but that's why I'm here.
And that's why it hurts so bad after everything we've been through. I don't think intervention would do much for me.
No? What would you even be intervened on? What do you have any bad habits? Because you seem like a very well put together man. Do you have any demons in there, Russell?
Let's just go through them. Let's see. I do too much karate. I do too much shadow karate, shadow boxing in a corner. I don't know if you've ever seen me just doing a hook and kind of like dipping and jiving in a corner. I do a lot of that. I do a lot of shadow boxing.
Does that affect your life?
It does. My wife will be telling me like, yeah, and then that's my aunt's. She's not gonna make it. She has stage 4 cancer. I'm like, yeah, that sounds bad. That sounds. It's just like I don't know, some weird ADHD. Like I have to be moving and fidgeting or doing.
Do
something.
you feel like a lot of like the ADHD thing? Do you feel like our generation missed that wave? Because I feel like I have like some form of ADHD, but I'm never gonna go get it fucking clinically.
I think like kids before us all got it too much, so much so that. Did you have another one?
Mm-hmm. I gotta focus.
Sorry. Kids before us got like slammed with ADHD, ADD diagnoses, and then my parents were like, so many kids are getting diagnosed with ADD. Those are just boys in class, you know? Oh, they're not sitting and listening and focusing. Yeah, what 7-year-old boy doesn't sit and listen?
Right.
So then my parents were like, ADD's not even real. No one has ADHD. So then it swung. So maybe it was that. But as I've gotten older, this is a burp-heavy pod. As I've gotten older, I definitely think because I would. The thing with ADHD is always like, oh, and I'm walking around, oh, squirrel, oh, nickel, I just can't focus. But the more I've looked into it, the more like that's not really what it is.
Well, I mean, because there's certain things that can grab my attention, and I'll fucking key in on it and just be locked in.
That's the thing is it's hyperfixation of like I either can't focus or there's other things that need to be done, but I'm too honed in on this one thing and I can't get off it.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of that, but I'm not diagnosed with ADHD or anything. I want to be because I want to try Adderall, but I don't want to go to jail.
Dude, just go get some fucking. We can find some Adderall.
No, I don't want to go. I don't want to be bad boy. I don't want to go to jail.
Look, you gotta experiment, man. You gotta get. Have you done mushrooms?
No.
You need to do all. You need to do like every drug once. All right, just to learn about yourself. That's how I feel about it.
I took a marijuana edible.
Those are the worst. Those are the worst to learn about yourself.
In 2018, alone in my apartment, so that I could take notes. I just wanted to know scientifically.
Did you have like a crazy anxiety attack?
No, I felt bad. I was just like, because I waited for my wife to leave to do it, and I'm like, I've betrayed her trust by doing drugs behind her back.
If you're gonna do drugs, you have to have something to do while on the drugs. Like that's how you're supposed to experience it. The drugs are supposed to be an inconvenience to your plans. And that's how you really get the full enjoyment out of them. Oh, we got to go to a kid's soccer game? Let me hit this edible before we go to a kid's soccer game. And then you get the sunglasses, and then you have to stand there and be like, I wonder if they can tell I'm high behind the sunglasses.
You
got to go experience life. You can't just like fucking close yourself off.
But how am I supposed to take notes? Diligent
You
notes.
don't need to take no
time
fucking
stamped.
notes. You know how you take the notes when like something crazy happens? You're like, oh my God, I'm panicking. And then you're like, I'll never forget when we were at that Burger King drive-thru and I fucking froze because I
hit that other car. I've threatened it for a while, but I do want to get drunk once, just to like. I just want to know how it feels, because am I like? Everyone talks about like, oh, I'm a flirty drunk or I'm an angry drunk or whatever. I just kind of want to know what bubbles to the surface. Do I tear? Do I cry? Do I try to fight a man? I want to know.
And see, this has always been my thing when it comes to like substance abuse and shit like that. When people are telling me like, if you're doing this shit and you're not like learning about yourself, then that's when I'm like, yeah, you're an addict. All right. But there's been times where I'm doing shit like, I remember this was about a year and a half ago. I'm in the middle of doing my bachelor program for my degree and all that sort of shit. And I'm just sitting in the house and I'm getting high like every day. And there's like a point where I'm sitting there, I'm like, dude, why am I fucking smoking so much? And you start to realize like, oh, maybe I'm anxious about not getting through school. Maybe I'm anxious that this degree isn't going to work. And then I'm like, oh, dude, what? No, that's me. That's my weird anxiety. And like, it was weird because I used to get high because it would like calm me down and like I would be able to chill out and it would get rid of the sober anxiety that I had. But then it started flipping into every time I got high, my anxiety would skyrocket. So it was almost like I attached my negative shit to that. And then I was like, oh, well, then I just need to stop smoking and I won't be anxious anymore.
Yeah.
So now I don't smoke like at all anymore.
I think that's a big thing is I'm doing that. I thought everyone who did drugs was bad for most of my life. And then
some of us are explorers, baby.
Adventurers on the brink of scientific breakthroughs.
It's the way you're supposed to do it.
But if you're doing it to like hide something or mask something or get through something, like I can't go to sleep until I have one Mike's Hard Lemonade. That's sad. That's not a good.
Yeah, when you attach it to something negative. I think if you're doing it to explore, like that's why I did mushrooms. The first time I did mushrooms, I was like, I need to figure out what the fuck is wrong with me.
Sure.
And when I did it, it was like as soon as it kicked in, I kept everybody that I was with. We're on a mountain. We're at this like hippie retreat. I just kept saying, "Hey, I'm sorry if I'm like ruining your time. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm just fucking." And they're like, "Dude, you're fine. No one cares. You're on drugs. Everybody here's on drugs." And I was like, "Dude, I'm sorry if I'm like ruining your time. I'm sorry if I'm fucking the mood up. I'm sorry." And that was like I realized, oh, dude, what's going on with me? That I think I'm just this detrimental in everybody's life. I'm just fucking everybody else's shit up. And it was one of those things like I was afraid of, like, you know, the energy I was projecting and shit like that. And then I realized like a lot of the issues that I was dealing with, because I was angry fuck ton. This is like in the middle of COVID. I'm angry. I'm anxious. I'm all this sort of shit. And I go, oh, it's me. I'm the problem. Like, you know, like the straight up Taylor Swift. It's me. Hi. Like, you know, I'm the fucking problem. And once I was like started realizing that while I'm on the drugs, I'm like, oh, I'm an asshole. Like I gotta fit. And it was a beautiful realization, and it all culminated like after I came down off the mountain, and like, you know, I'm back doing my regular life shit. About a week later, my mom was like, hey, I want to let you know something. It was not going good between us. She was like, it was really rocky there for a little bit, and then you took mushrooms and you kind of mellowed out. And I was like, yeah, because I learned like I was being a fucking dickhead. I was trying to blame everything that was wrong with me on something else, and I was like, oh no, it's fucking me.
Yeah,
and that's how you're supposed to take drugs.
Well, also you need some amount of self-reflection.
I think that's a missed thing in a lot of people nowadays. Is this self-awareness is just fucking.
Yeah, I mean, you saying I'm mad at everything and everything's trying to ruin my life. Oh, maybe it's my standards or my expectations or whatever it is.
Right.
I think it was right after COVID, the first time I saw you, you were like, hey, man, good to see you. I did mushrooms in the woods. I'm a changed man. I'm not going to get on fights on Facebook anymore. That was like your big thing.
I haven't.
That was your big thing that you told me was I'm not going to be mean on Facebook. I'm not going to get banned off of Facebook
again.
again.
The fucking that was like a big realization. That was before I realized that was before the drugs. We were on the mountain and we were just driving up, and I wasn't on my phone. I was just.
Was it you and your brother?
Yes, it was my brother. He flew in. It's actually it's hilarious. So he flew in. He did the mushrooms with me. We had a fucking blast. And then when we got done, like when he was getting ready to leave, he's like, "Yo, have you ever seen this movie Midsummer?" And I was like, "No." And then we watched the movie. I was like, "Dude,
on mushrooms or before the
no,
mushrooms?
this is after."
Oh,
This is
okay.
after.
That's an aggressive movie for mushrooms from what I'm aware of.
So what the whole reason he came out was because I told him about this show up in the mountains I was gonna do. I was like, and it's at this hippie retreat. I was like, I'm gonna do fucking mushrooms up there for the first time and fucking, figure out some shit. Well, apparently he had just watched Midsummer, and then I told him what I was doing. So he was like,
he was coming to protect you?
Yeah, he was like, I can't let him go up the mountain alone. And he came out there and he did it with me. And then we watched that movie. He was like, that's why I came out here. I was like, dude, you came out here and did that after watching that fucking movie?
That's how much he loves you.
Right. I was like, dude, that's crazy.
He's just taking care of you.
Yeah, dude. He was like, I couldn't let you go up that mountain by yourself. He said, you're going to a bunch of fucking white people I don't know. You're going to fucking be doing drugs in the mountains. I couldn't let you go out like that.
Wild. That's a good brother. I have one of my best friend. He took mushrooms one time with like a guide kind of thing, and he's like, one of the best experiences I ever had. I feel like I'm closer to God than I've ever been. I understand myself better than I've ever been. And then the second time I did mushrooms, I did it alone and watched a movie called Annihilation.
Oh, Jesus.
You know that movie?
I think I saw it a while back, but dude.
He watched it like in IMAX with surround
Hell
sound.
no.
Oh, I didn't sleep for 3 days. It was the worst thing I've ever done. And that's a big fear for me, too, I think unburdened of any Christian moral or guilt, I think I would be a mushroom guy. That sounds like fun to me. But there is that thing that every mushroom person says of like, well, you got to go into it in like a good headspace. You can't have anything latent that's going to come out. And just hearing that makes me anxious enough that as soon as I would take the mushrooms, I would then freak out about, well, what is there that's going to freak me out? And that would freak me out and ruin the whole thing.
So this was the first time I took it. We were on the mountain. As soon as I eat the mushrooms, and there's a chick there, and she was like, "Hey, what's your biggest fear?" And I was like, "Dude, what the fuck is wrong with you?" I was like, "I just took mushrooms. You're gonna bring up? You want me to have that in the front of my mind?" I was like, "What? You want to try to have me have a bad trip and shit like that?" And she looks at me and just as calm and as plain as day goes, "What's so bad about facing your biggest fear?" Boom. And I literally, like, I would have the bad thought. I'm like, and like I was laying.
She watched Jordan Peterson right before.
But it was funny because it was like, I was like, when I have the bad thought, because that was my biggest fear. If I have the bad thought, I'm going to have the bad trip. But I'm like laying on the side of the mountain, just like kind of staring up at the stars, and the bad thought starts coming in. And my brother's like, he's like sitting there right next to me, and he's like, "You good?" I was like, "I'm having a bad thought." He's like, "Well, what do you want?" I was like, "I think I'm going to see where it takes me." Like you just ride the wave. And that's kind of like what you got to do. Just, hey, you're on drugs. Let the drugs do their thing. I think that's the biggest thing a lot of people freak out on. I don't want to name names, but it's someone who's very close to me. And she was on drugs, and she was like, something's wrong. Something's wrong. And I go, hey, can you just trust me? You're on drugs. I was like,
you know what's wrong?
I was like, you're just on drugs.
You're on drugs.
I was like, that's all it is. I was like, just keep telling yourself you're just on drugs and let it ride, and just ride that wave.
I want to see, because when I took the edible one time, it was like, oh, now I know why every skateboard compilation video is in a fisheye lens, because that's what it was like. Okay, everything's kind of fisheye lensed out, and I could focus my way out of it to where everything was normal again. But if I stopped focusing, everything would go back to fisheye lens. And I am interested in like, is my mind strong enough that if I took psychedelics,
you're too self-aware to not enjoy it.
Can I fight my way out of hallucinating?
I feel like the only people
I feel like that's really bad to do on a hallucinogen. I bet that's probably bad for you.
Your self-awareness is so... Look, this is why I fuck with you, Russell. Because you are one of the few people that I know that are very self-aware. the more self-aware you are, the more you should do psychedelics, because then you get to see like, oh, what's going on in the sides of my brain? Like, what's in the peripheral that I haven't even been thinking of. That shit will come to the forefront. You're like, oh, that's weird about me. Like, the fact that you want to get high and take notes, like you're not going to have a bad trip. You're just going to have an informative one.
I had one of my notes I wrote, I have Jack Skellington fingers.
There you go.
I was very clickety with my fingers. I was very aware of my bones. I don't know if that's a normal thing. I'm like, oh my God, I got so many in there.
That's one of the things is like you start realizing like, oh my God, I'm a bag of meat.
I could feel how heavy I was jumping, and I'm like, can people underneath me hear that? That's a lot of man coming down. That's a lot of man. Yeah, just being very aware of my body.
One of my favorite things I've taken mushrooms a couple times. One of my favorite things to do is you watch your hands and you'll see your fingers start to like shift and do all this. Or if you watch TV, you'll see shit on TV and you're like, what the fuck is happening? I put on Anchorman 2, all right? And just watching the wildness that is that movie, but then also watching people's faces like warp and like their eyes are getting big and their nose is getting big and they're like doing all this crazy. It's the wildest thing because in my head I'm like, what is making me see this like this? Like, the drugs are fucking up my vision this crazy? And that's like the shit. If you're thinking like that, it'll ground you, and you'll be able to get through it in a heartbeat.
What do you think about Anchorman 2 sober?
Anchorman 2, look, everybody, when in comparison to the original Anchorman, everybody hated Anchorman 2, right? But I thought it was 10 times funnier than the original.
I had such a good. Me and my brother saw Anchorman 2 in theaters 3 or 4 times.
Have you ever watched Tim and Eric?
Yeah.
It was literally the Tim and Eric version of Anchorman. Like the shitty cuts, the crazy jokes. My favorite is James Marsden playing Jack Lime.
Yeah.
Dude, when they're talking like on the other side of the room, he's like, "What was that?" Like that shit is still funny to me to this fucking day. What was that guy? Like, my mom actually did a movie with him.
Really?
Yes, and she knows James Marsden as the ketchup guy because every time they would have lunch, he would be looking for the ketchup.
He's just on the prowl.
Yeah, just looking for ketchup. And she was like, James Marsden. I was like, you mean Cyclops? Because this was like, it was the movie. Do you remember the movie he did with Cameron Diaz? It's called The Box or something like that.
Oh, maybe.
And the premise was it was.
Is it like a thriller?
No, it's just like a psychological thing. There's a box, and if you press the button, you get like $1 million.
But someone dies.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know he was in that.
Yes, my mom was in that movie as
well.
Oh. But I think you only get to see the back of her head.
Sure.
But she was on set for like a week. It was what I was like, you were there for a week and you only got like the back of your head in the movie. But it was funny. She was like, yeah, I would talk to him all the time, and he would just be like, oh, your kids probably know me. She's like, because I didn't know who the fuck he was. And I was like, yeah, this fucking James Marsden. Like, that dude's a fucking shit.
The guy from Sonic?
No, this was peak X-Men days.
Oh,
so he was
this is a while ago.
He was Cyclops. Yeah, if you go back, dude, the box was like fucking at least 2009, 2010.
He's strangely not famous.
I don't know. I mean, well, I guess I know.
Like, I feel he's done huge. Like, he was Cyclops. He did the Sonic movie. Couldn't even tell you his name in that movie or whatever. But I feel like if you saw, I feel like James Marsden could go eat somewhere pretty easily.
Not if I was there. Not if I was there. I'd be all over it. Oh shit, dude! He was in Westworld.
He was in Westworld.
Did you ever watch the Freebie TV show, the Jury Duty?
Yeah, Jury Duty's so good.
That was his best performance.
It was excellent. That's such a great show because all the TV shows, like me and my wife were like, oh, Violet's down, let's watch a show together. They're all these dark, horrible, like thrillers or action, whatever it is, but they're all like dark, brooding kind of things.
Can't watch it in front of a child without having to explain the world.
Well, and Jury Duty's just like light. Yeah. It's fun. Everyone's having a good time. Everyone's nice. Yeah, it's a good, loving, joyful show.
I enjoyed the hell out of it.
It's very fun. Kirk Fox is in it. He doesn't get enough FaceTime. I guess in that show, Kirk Fox was in Parks and Rec, and the main guy in jury duty is a huge Parks and Rec fan.
Okay.
And they were nervous that he was going to recognize him from Parks and Rec, so they kind of like they would always put
Which
him
one
on
was Kirk Fox?
He had the mustache and kind of like a middle part. They don't use him much in the show because they didn't use him a lot during the filming because they were worried the main guy's going to recognize him, so they kind of like kicked him off to the side. They're worried he would notice him. But I'm like, I noticed him as Kirk Fox from his 2005 22-minute stand-up comedy half-hour special on Comedy Central.
What you're talking about.
That's what I'm like
the waste man. He was he was the garbage guy.
Yeah,
right?
I would go. I know his half-hour special.
Right.
I bought it on iTunes.
Is that your comic that you know and everybody else is like, who?
I mean, when it came out, I kept pointing him out. I'm like, that's Kirk Fox, and no one knows who that is. No, I watched a lot of, early 2000s half-hour comedy specials when my parents weren't around. That's how I like my dad. My dad would play stand-up tapes for us. I loved Bill Cosby stand-up when I was a kid. He has a brother named Russell. It's so fun. He's so funny. Before I saw live music for the first time that wasn't like church music, I saw Brian Regan and Jim Gaffigan and Seinfeld.
That's lit. Those are amazing.
For clean comedy, those are like the big three.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so like my dad, like crammed stand up into me, and then he would catch me watching a half-hour special on Comedy Central. Like, you turn that filth off right now.
I'm trying to remember like the first comedy thing I ever really saw was like the original Kings of Comedy. And I remember we had that on like VHS. I was born in 91. That came out like 2000. So I was like maybe 10, 11 or something like that. And I remember we had it on VHS, and I would watch it and I would laugh, but I didn't know what the fuck I was watching. I just knew it was funny. Like, like I would watch it and be like, oh, this is funny. And then it went from that, and I think like the next big thing I remember was like Dane Cook. Like, and I hate that Dane Cook gets such a bad rep. He's like the Limp Bizkit of comedy, where it's like, hey, everybody loved him at one point. Yeah. Why now everybody hates him?
It's the thing of like shitting on Nickelback, even though Nickelback sells. They're multimillionaires. They sell thousands of tickets. Dude, they do international tours.
Everybody talks shit about Limp Bizkit. I know the entire like hot dog
everyone
flavored
thinks
water.
Limp Bizkit's bad. Well, how do they keep selling records then if everyone hates them and they're bad?
The shit. They were the shit. I still remember the Dane Cook half hour on Comedy Central where he did the alien joke. That shit was hilarious to me.
That's something that's kept me. I'm still relatively new. You're old and jaded, and the life has left your eyes. I still have some semblance of hope. Being realistic though, of like it is Colorado Springs, unless I move somewhere or my TikTok takes off.
You gotta enjoy the fucking ride.
But I get caught up in the business side of it, or it's like, well, I should be getting booked more, and I want to get paid more. But it's very exhausting. And one thing that kind of grounds me is, at one point, Dane Cook was doing open mics somewhere. And then at one point, Dane Cook headlined Madison Square Garden, sold the most tickets for a stand-up comedy show anyone's ever been. And now Dane Cook is also doing open mics again.
Right.
Like, even if the stars were to align and I made it, I accomplished all my goals and everything went perfectly exactly the way it could. And then 4 years later, right back to where I was.
That's why I tell everybody.
It's fickle.
I tell everybody who's pushing is like, hey, find peace before you make it. Like, find peace, because you don't want your peace to be attached to the ride up. You don't want to be like, oh, this is where I want to be as the ride's going up. Because once that motherfucker comes down, because it always comes down.
Well, and how many people did I watch their Comedy Central half-hour special? Like, to them, that was the biggest thing. They're like, my life's changing after this. And nobody knows who Christian Finnegan is except for me. No, that's a big thing with, like, getting married. Is it, like, a piece of advice I heard for at a young age was, you need to be a complete person before you get into a relationship, because you can't be expecting your Like the thing of like, oh, you complete me. You complete me. That's bad.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be relying on that other person
It's
to completely.
symbiotic shit.
You should be able to live entirely on your own independently as an individual person. Also, I like you.
Right.
Also, you should be
Also,
a part
we
of
can
this.
do this together.
Yeah.
We can do this as a unit.
Because if anything goes wrong, then your identity is tied in that person. Everything
And
fractures.
that's how you end up killing people.
Yeah.
That's how you
That's how you end up with Mike's Hearts.
Right.
Do you? That's the same thing with stand-up.
I got a question for you for
Please.
your marriage. Do you and your wife cuss at each other?
Like in anger.
Like, is there like if you were to be like, man, shut the fuck up, would she be like,
I don't think so. She, we swear at each other in conversation. If we're fighting, we swear, but I don't think I've ever sworn at her.
You never like be like, you fucking bitch.
No,
like,
no.
Yeah.
I think maybe she's sworn
yelled?
about me of like it just gets so fucking tiring about
That's-
like that kind of thing.
gotta
But
be
she's
able to
never
talk
said
about
like you.
You fuck.
Yeah. It's never been finger point. No, I've never been like a yeller. I've never yelled.
You never screamed at her?
No.
I've screamed at my wife once.
Well, once?
Once.
That's shocking to me.
And it was just like a culmination of a bunch of shit happening at like once. And I was trying to get the baby down. She's been stressing me out because
Is this new baby or old baby?
this is the new baby.
Sure.
Everything's just hectic. Everything's just hectic, right? And it's one of those things where it's like I'm trying to fucking do it. Give me the baby, give me the baby. I'm like, leave me the fuck alone! And I like screamed at the top of my lungs. And she fucking left. And she was like distraught for like an hour. And then she's like, hey, if you ever fucking scream at me like that again. But it was like she understood. It was literally just like the perfect storm hitting
Sure.
all at once.
Especially getting baby down. That's the most stressful
It's like
time in any parent's life.
middle of the
it's
night.
an absolute nightmare.
Middle of the night, everything's just going to shit. Everybody's tired. Everybody's fucking running on E. But I bring all this up because there's a kid that I know, and he's getting married. And the situation. Every time he tells me something about this situation, I'm just like, run, dude. I'm like, get the fuck out. He's like, yeah, I don't cuss at her. She won't allow me to cuss at her. I was like, what do you mean she won't allow you to cuss at her? And he's like, yeah, and I can't make a purchase without her looking at the bank account and telling me what I can buy. And I'm like, well, is she working? Well, no, she's not working, and like everything. I'm like, dude, you gotta. And I asked him the same question. I was like, do you cuss at her? He's like, oh, never. I would never cuss at her. I was like, dude, then how are you gonna marry her? I was like, you got to be able to cuss at the person you're marrying because it's forever. You're not going to cuss forever? And then he goes, well, I respect her. I go, you think I don't respect my wife because I cuss at her? I was like, that's how I respect her the most because I know she can handle me fucking losing it and just stand there and be like, shut the fuck up. Like, you know? And I think that's like the pinnacle is like relationship. Anybody who has like that perfect relationship, I don't trust it. There has to be like the Rocky. Like, God damn it, I can't stand her. God damn it, I can't stand him. And it just has to have that moment. So even when you can't stand the other person, you still go, yeah, but I'm going to stay right here. Like, I'm not going anywhere else because this is it for me.
Yeah, that's I like hearing about people moving in before they get married. That to me seems I understand the logic of like, well, we're seeing if this works out before we get married. But, like, now you're always, like, you could leave at any moment. Nothing is keeping you here. And especially now we have a lease.
That's a big test.
We have a lease tied to this. I don't feel safe. I still wouldn't feel safe being fully myself around you because at any moment you could leave. So I still have to pretend a little bit until we get married. Now you can't leave. Now I can be myself kind
Hell
of thing.
no. If we're living together, you're getting the full. Dude, when me and Kelsey moved in together, oh, my God. I was a bad drunk. I didn't have my drinking all the way under control. I was still I would
couldn't focus.
Dude, yeah, I couldn't focus. But I'll never forget. This is one of my favorite stories. She hates this story. But I was working at Chili's, and it was just my day off. And she was at work, and I was like, there's my fucking day off. I went and I got 4 40s, 4 40 ounces, all right? And it's like fucking 8 o'clock in the morning, and I start drinking. And I finished these 40s, and I'm fucking trashed. It's like 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm fucking drunk. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do something nice. I'm gonna make some dinner for my girl so she can come home to some dinner. I was gonna make this like nice spaghetti dish, and I fucking get the water boiling, and I black the fuck out. All right? I black out, and I wake up to her kicking me. I had blacked out, not only blacked out, but I had found a way to push the couch away from the wall and fall asleep behind the couch. So she comes home. There's a pot on the stove. Like, the water's almost gone.
Right. It's just destroyed the pot.
It's like the water's almost gone. She's like, where the fuck is he? And I'm snoring behind the couch. And I wake up to her, like, kicking me, like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I was like, I was trying to do something fucking nice. Like, and she stuck with me through that. So that's how I know that's my fucking forever soulmate. It's the small things.
That's one way to do it. Is just be the worst kind of person and be
Dude,
like,
be
well,
the
you
worst-
stuck around.
The worst version.
You have no standards. You might as well.
Well, what's funny was, like, I always tell her all the time, she met me at, like, the worst point. I was living in Florida. I was fucked up on
Working at Chili's.
Yeah, no, I was working at, like, the mall. I was just working a bunch of different mall jobs because I knew, like, 3 managers at the mall because we all did drugs together. And I would just get fucked up on the weekends, go to the beach, just fuck. That was my life. And we started dating, and I was just a piece of shit, and I was trying my best to, like, scare her away, but she's like, no, I see something in you. And that's like, oh, she's like, yeah, I see something in you. Everybody else around her, fucking, who is this guy? Fuck this guy.
That's good. That's good wife. Like, to a much lesser extent. No one understood why my wife was dating me when we were younger. But in the, like, I would wear a lot of shirts that said, like, I'm a fun guy with a little mushroom on it. I would wear what she would call homeschool jeans, where it was like a single pant width the entire way down. It was just a tube.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, wore it a lot of, like,
jeans.
Yeah, homeschooler jeans. I would often not wash my hair because I didn't understand how hair products work, and I would see, like, people with, like, slicked, shiny hair. I'm like, that's what I want my hair to look like.
So
I
you
just
wouldn't want?
just
Oh,
wouldn't wash
Jesus
it.
Christ.
So I would be slick and shiny. And
Jesus Christ, Russell.
and that was something where I don't know why she saw potential in that, but she stuck it out. And look at her now.
Raising my children. While I tell shitty stories in the basement with my drunk
Yeah, in my
friends.
cool podcast studio.
Look, this is the pinnacle. What do you want, a doctor? A doctor that loves you? I tell
Ew,
my wife all the time.
Get over it.
Who is gonna love you the way I do?
Someone who could do better?
I tell her, what do you want, some dude coming home all happy all the time? Oh, hey, how was your day? I was like, you're going to hate that guy. I was like, I'm interesting. You come home, you don't know if I'm drunk, if I'm high, if I'm angry, if I'm sad. It's a roll of the dice. Isn't that more fun?
It is. It is. It's good. Variety is the spice of life.
Goddamn
All
right.
that good stuff.
I ain't got to spice it up. I'm already spicy enough.
That's a cool little line. Did you color coordinate on purpose or just
Yes.
happenstance? Okay.
Yes. I mean, look, I didn't want to come on here wearing like the wrong. I didn't dress up, but I definitely wanted to put a little bit of
Okay.
effort in.
I
You see
appreciate
the
it.
sweatpants and the dirty fucking tennis shoes?
I didn't
You remember
notice the
when I
tennis
got
shoes.
these tennis shoes? Everybody loved them. They're like, dude, those are cool. Now they're dirty and old, and no one says anything about them anymore.
Do you try to solicit compliments?
No, I
Do
just
you, like, put your little shoe out there and wiggle it around hoping someone will say something?
hell no, dude. I bought these because I liked them, and then I just remember everybody commenting on it. And what's funny is when that shit happens, like I got another pair of shoes that I wear every so often. I was like, dude, nice fucking shoes, man. Where'd you fucking get them? I'm like, I just bought shoes. Like I wasn't like, dude, these are gonna kill him. These are gonna kill him. I'm like, oh, these shoes are cool.
I have I like to think as Biggie Smalls sweaters. I know nothing of the man, but I like to think they are Biggie Smalls sweaters, and everyone says they're Bill Cosby sweaters.
Well, I guess they were kind of similar if you put pictures side by side.
Not too far off. And there was, I don't remember who said it, but I was at a show in Denver. And I was wearing that, and one guy was like, you would look just like Brian if you just put a gold chain on. Like you would dress.
Have you told Brian that?
I have not.
Tell him
I don't see
that.
Brian enough.
If you say next time you see him, tell him that.
If you just put a little, what do they call them? Tennis bracelet or whatever they call the necklace. Whatever you give the woman you're having an affair with, you give her that necklace. If you just had one of those, you would dress just like Brian.
I think Brian has lost more chains, or I've seen him go through more chains than anybody that I've ever met. I've lost one of his chains. I've seen someone break one of his chains. I've seen a woman take one of his chains.
Just take one?
Well, I don't want to fucking.
Okay.
But it's just, I think he's had the worst luck with chains of anybody that I've met.
Jewelry just seems like an expensive.
That's why.
Unless it's all like Kmart jewelry from the kiosk or whatever.
I've got a nice necklace. I don't know how much my wife spent on it. I know she didn't spend a lot. Because she doesn't spend fucking money. She hates how I spend money because I'm like, dude, we got fucking money. Fuck it. Spend it. Buy it.
You make all of it, so I'll spend it.
Right. No, look, when I wasn't working, I didn't spend a shit ton of money. But now that I am working, I'm like, I'm buying that. She's like, no, you guys. I was like, dude, we got an argument at the store because she was buying great value shit. And I was like, hey, we don't make as much money as we do to eat like poor people, all right? I was like, get some shit with some name brand on it. She's like, it's the same shit. I was like, I don't care if it's the same shit. Stop having our cart looking like we're not fucking doing the damn thing.
People are looking.
Right.
That was a big fight when I first got married. I wanted Cocoa Puffs, Cocoa Pebbles, whatever it might be, and she would get the giant bag of cereal that's I think called Bag-O cereal.
Right.
That's like
don't you fucking
chocolate
disrespect
crispy
me.
flakes or like chocolatey puffed cereal. Hey, if you take this from me, you've gotten rid of all of my stuff.
Independent. All right?
You've taken all of my knickknacks. When I've only lived by myself for 3 months out of my life.
Oh, really?
Because I lived obviously with my parents, moved into the apartment after me and my wife got engaged, and then just waited for waited for us to get married, and then she moved in.
Damn, you didn't have no time by yourself?
There was 3 months of me doing what I wanted to do, and my apartment was big screen TV, mattress on the floor in the corner,
goddamn right.
Nothing on it, or like nothing underneath it, just mattress, and 2 wheelchairs.
2 wheelchairs?
One for me to wheelie in, and one for her. When she came, she would have somewhere to sit. She would also had a wheelchair.
A wheelchair.
Yeah. That was the life. That was incredible. Just playing Call of Duty, doing wheelies.
I remember the first apartment I had by myself. Well, I wasn't by I moved in with my brother Trey, and we were living like fucking animals, but it was awesome. It was like we would my brother who was in college, he came home and he was DJ. He had just started DJing, so he would bring all his DJ equipment and just set it up in the front room, and he would sleep in the front room. And you knew he was up because you would hear the turntables going. Like, that was like our alarm clock. You'd hear the fucking brr, 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 and he would just practice all fucking day. We'd come out there, get high, get drunk, have a party, and then the place would be fucked up. And then at the time, there was a girl that was trying to sleep with me. She was trying to, like, be my girlfriend, and she would stay and clean up the apartment after the party. And then she would leave.
That's the saddest woman in the world.
Dude, she would.
I hope she's doing better. She's probably dead at this point.
I don't want to look. I'm gonna tell this story. If she's upset, she can message me. But I remember I came home like after.
It's nice that you think my podcast has enough reach that it's gonna get back to her.
She might hear it, and then I have to say something. But after I had left, I came home. and I was like visiting, and I went to a party with some of my friends, and she was there, and she was like fucking trashed. She was trashed, and she's in the corner. She's all fucking like, and then she sees me, and she walks. She's like, "You're the one that got away." And I was like,
Ew.
"That's like, enjoy your night."
Ew.
Dude, it was the worst. I had never felt so bad. I was like, "Oh, I hope that's not because of me." Like, you know what you know what I'm saying?
No, she attached to you, but it would have been anybody she attached to.
Yeah, but I was just like one of those things. Like, damn. And it's kind of like I think that's one of the first ones where I was like, I kind of need to watch what I'm doing to people.
How I'm treating.
Like, you know, where like, I think I might be leading people on a little bit. I think
Were you puppet mastering? Were you pulling the strings? You're charismatic. You're manipulative.
I think I was. I don't know if I was cognizant of it at the time, but
Sure.
I think it was definitely like.
You didn't go to trade school for it.
Right. I wasn't like, dude, watch this. But I definitely was like, this is nice, but I don't want to commit.
I committed to the second girl I ever went on a date
Oh,
with.
God.
We were talking about this at Ludi's, but I don't know how, if she dies, like I've never, the two girls friends I've ever had were both friends that I had who at some point were like, do you want to make out? And I was like, sick. I've never asked a girl on a date. I've never gotten a phone number. I've never flirted. We were just friends, and then they kissed me, and I was like, sick, I have a girlfriend now. That's how it worked both times. If my wife dies, I don't know how to do that at 30.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine, dude. You'll be sad and reckless.
That's a big motivator right there. That'll
reckless.
get your reps out there.
It'll get your reps out there, and also you'll get. Look, you're gonna have to scrape the bottom of the barrel, but that's how you build the confidence up. You start low, and you aim high. All right, you know.
Okay,
you gotta work your way up the ladder.
Sure.
All right? Just start with some. I don't want to start saying mean things. Start and you just do whatever you want. Hey, hey. Dude, I've seen some crazy shit. I've seen dudes pull chicks in ways where you're nice enough, you'll kill it out there. I've seen some dudes do some crazy shit. I don't know if you've ever. I used to try and write a joke about this, but I've never figured out. There's a certain type of black dude, and the way that they holler women in the club, you feel like you're an accomplice. Like I've seen it multiple times where they're walking, like a woman's walking by, and they'll just grab them by like the arm, be like, "Hey, where are you going?" And then they'll start talking to him, and then it like works. And I'm just like, oh, the confidence, like I'm just gonna grab this person, and this is gonna go somewhere. I'm like, dude, what is? I've never had that vision where it's like, oh, I can grab this woman, and
I've never had confidence.
I've never had confidence like that. I've had certain confidence where it's like, oh, I know I can talk to her, but dude, the confidence just, hey, where you going?
It reminds them of their fathers.
Right.
That's the key.
I saw one of my friends. We were on a road trip doing some comedy. He was going through some shit at his house, and we're sitting at the bar, and he looks across the bar. He goes, "Hey, that girl at the end of the bar, she's kind of cute." I was like, "Yeah, she's kind of cute." And he goes, "All right." And he stands up on his chair. He's like, "Hey, what's your name?" And he's like just yelling at her. I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? And she came over and talked to him for like an hour. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, this is
to go like, hey, I need you. Is she cute? She is cute. Perfect. Thank you so much. That's all I needed. Like that, if you were gonna yell, did you need my sign off on it? Was that what was holding you back?
And then she had like these two dudes with her, and like they just look like the dudes who have the hot chick friend.
Sure.
And he just kept like he goes, "Who are these fucking losers?" I'm just like, yo, like this is the craziest shit
It worked.
I've ever seen. It worked. I was like, but I guess that's the confidence you need for pretty girls. That's the confidence you need for pretty girls. But if you go
lesser, if I go down a notch,
if you turn the scope down a little,
I could be a little meeker.
Yeah, you don't have to scream at them. You can work your way up to screaming at women.
It's much different, but I met my wife in high school, and she told me one of the biggest things that like she's like, oh, he's I'm going for him, was she told me at one point she's like, "Yeah, my mom has cancer," and I'm like, "Oh, that's horrible. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry to hear that." And that was it.
Oh wow.
And she told me that that's what kind of made the difference for her to go like, he's the one. Like, who are you?
Who are you talking
either
to?
Who are you hanging out with? High school girls must be so mean, or women have such low standards for anyone to be nice to them. Just any man say that sounds hard, and that's what'll get me. So maybe
I'm
I don't
trying
need
to think of what high
confidence.
school Johnny would have said, or like the people I knew in high school. And it would have been like dude, she's down to fuck. She's going through something.
Well, especially when I was in high. I mean, I'm not that much younger than you, but in high school it was just your retorts are that's gay or that's retarded. So to say that sounds hard, I'm so sorry, it probably meant a lot to her. So it was like, my mom has cancer. No one said that's gay.
I think everybody just fucking anybody else she said it to was like, I don't know. I don't know what that means.
So maybe I don't need confidence. I just need to be a kind-hearted boy.
Look, if it happens, if you're ever back out there, I would suggest do whatever you want. You can be whoever you want. I think that's what I was doing in Florida before I met my wife. I was like, dude, I can be whoever I want to these women. I can be the cool guy. I can be the fuck you. Because I was doing the whole online dating thing, and I was in some shit sometimes, and it was just I just remember being like, oh, I can do whatever I want because they don't know who I am.
Imagine you online dating, chatting at women, seeing what I've seen you post on the internet, and you're like, I have full anonymity.
I've
can
come
say
a long
whatever
way.
I want.
I've come a long fucking way.
I was talking to someone last time I was at Looney's, and they mentioned I brought up the Vultures group chat that everybody's in.
Oh yeah.
Whatever. The group chat that every Colorado Springs comedian's in, whether or not they've ever been to the Vultures group chat.
You're in the Vultures group chat.
And someone was like, yeah, you and Johnny are always saying the craziest stuff in there. I'm like, me and Johnny? Am I on the level of Johnny that me and him are saying the two?
I've toned it down.
We're saying all the slurs. I thought there's other people in there. Maybe it's just me and you.
I'd have to go back and check because I know. Well, I think it's because I think we did do a Palestine thing.
We did some Palestine stuff. We did some, that no
everybody's
one
so
laughed
afraid
at.
to
They
talk
just said,
about it.
Jesus Christ.
Like, oh my God. You are my favorite person to talk to about stuff like that because you are such a nice
to then talk about executing women in the streets.
Just getting you to say some wild shit is like my favorite thing.
That was
Do you hate having the nice guy persona?
No, because it's not. There's an element of it that has served me well. I think there's one person in particular who keeps booking me to feature for women because he's like, you're trustworthy. Like, I would like you to think I'm funny, but sure, I'll take trustworthy.
That's funny.
But
you're not gonna try and fuck them, right?
That's why, I mean, I'll take the money, but because and it's not like a gimmick I'm putting on. It's just
no,
naive
that's my
little
favorite thing.
man.
Is like it's just Russell.
But it does allow me to then say crazy stuff, and it's more impactful.
It'll stop.
It's
the
more
room.
fun.
It'll stop the fucking room.
If Russell says something, it gets everyone's attention.
I think that's why I love it. I'm like, dude, Russell, say some crazy shit, please. Say some crazy shit, please. I want to watch everybody be like, oh, you've been hanging out with Johnny.
No, I mean, I like when I order a drink, when I finally order alcoholic drinks at shows, it becomes a big thing. Everyone talks about how I've ordered an alcoholic drink. People start flagging other people down.
People are gonna start buying you Crown Royal shots now.
And it's the same thing of if I make a big silly.
I want to get you to hit a blunt in front of everybody. Just straight up fucking have you.
Okay, that's one thing I wanted to. Last time I left a show, you yelled out, "Nobody rolls like Russell."
Goddamn right.
Which was a sketch idea.
That
I think
never
you
got
had
done.
From when I think I was like 3 months in to stand up or something like that, and I don't remember how, but somehow I got roped into. Brian asked me to film a sketch with you because you were like, when you moved here, you're like, I'm filming sketches now. Somehow I got roped into this, and I don't know why.
Oh, you're talking about the Comedians Through Time thing?
It was something before. It was the lawyer. Like,
Oh yes, I am the lawyer.
yeah, and you guys were doing some kind of used car salesman.
No,
or
it was
insurance
real
salesman.
estate.
Real
we were
estate.
selling real estate.
And
real estate.
You needed a nerdy white guy, and I was like, sure, I'll be there. And by the time I got there, Brian was like, I picked someone else. So I'm like, oh, so why did I drive here? So I just kind of hung out and riffed some lines.
Hell no.
That's how I became
was
the
that-
lawyer. Yeah, because Chris Jordahl became the nerdy white boy. And I just riffed the lawyer thing because I was Jewish.
Yeah. Look, you got to play your cards, man.
Somehow that got me in. I don't know how.
That's it,
But
look,
then I'm like,
that's
I'm
still one of
3
the
months
funniest
in. I don't know
sketches.
why I'm hanging out with these people.
I still have our fucking comedians through time thing that I never released.
Can you send that to me? I would love to see it if you got it somewhere.
I'll have to pull it up on the computer.
But yeah, there was some sketch where it was like, what if it was you, Russell, and you were a drug dealer, and nobody rolled blunts like you?
No, it was the barbershop tryouts.
Dude,
Remember,
oh
I wrote like
We have to do the
I
the
wrote like a
barbershop tryout was such a
30-page
funny-
fucking script, and I still have it saved on my computer. And I'll read it every once in a while and be like, dude, this is fucking good.
The barbershop trials was very funny.
It was funny, one, because I wrote a whole thing for Willie Crow, and it was like perfectly in Willie's voice. I'll never forget because Willie Crow, he was like, I didn't think you were funny, man. And then I wrote that sketch and I sent it to him, and he was like, holy shit. This sketch is like, man, you captured me so perfectly. And I'm like,
My
yeah,
essence.
dude, because I know what the fuck I'm doing. Like, but it was a good. It just like every time I read it, I go, the amount of production that would have to go into it. Like, it was a good idea, but then I have to come back to reality of, these are local comedians. Like, nobody has like 4 days to commit to a sketch. We have to go find a building that someone's gonna let us do it in. And it was just, and at the time, I was having such an issue with Brian with getting him somewhere on time and keeping him on task. Like, if we were doing anything, like, I don't know if you remember when we were doing the sketches, he couldn't get his fucking lines. I'm like, dude, you have like 3 fucking lines, and we've been here for like goddamn 2 hours, and you can't get the 3 lines out.
Because I was brand new. And my wife's like, who are these people you're hanging out with? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go film something at a stranger's house. I'll be back in 2 hours. And then 5 hours later, I'd be like, I'm so sorry. I think we're wrapping up soon.
Right.
And it became an all-day production.
Goddamn right. And it is so defeating. Because you're like, dude, we can get in, knock this out. And it's like 10 when you start. And then you look up and it's like, it's 6 o'clock. And we're not even fucking halfway through what we're trying to get fucking done. I'm pissed off at everybody.
Comedians Through Time was very funny.
And then we had the Illuminati intern. Remember that one?
I think
Gay
so.
frog spray.
Okay, I do remember that one. Yeah, as soon as you said that. Yeah, there's a couple of those.
That one was edited too. I think that one's good to go. But I mean, it's fucking 4 years old.
We should during COVID, COVID happened in March. I had my daughter in August, and I was just like constantly up at 3 a.m. trying to get her to go to sleep. At one point, you and Tracy messaged me you messaged me along the lines of, "Can you help me write some biracial sketches?" Like, I don't know what qualifies me, but sure. So I was just up at 3 a.m. going like, what a biracial guy I think is funny.
That's when the magic comes out, man.
3 a.m. I have a list of all of my, like, if I was a biracial man, sketch ideas that I have. And I'm still like, there's gold in these hills. These are excellent.
Let's
at some
revive
point,
it. Let's get
when
the fucking
this makes
sketch group
money,
together. Let's
we
get the
need
fucking
to-
sketch group together. Start doing some sketch comedy.
My one complaint that I have with you
hit me.
about your sketches, your podcast that you had for a while, which was genuinely, I listened to every episode. I might have been the only listener. I loved it so much. Your problem is you're bad at naming stuff. You love to name things. You love to name things an acronym. Like, the sketches it was bits, but it was biracial, interesting things said, or whatever. Like, it was
it was beauty in the struggle. That's what it is.
And then the podcast. It was the hate everything. Not everything needs an acronym,
but
not
it's
everything
smooth.
It's
smooth. If it's catchy enough, people be like, yeah, the podcast.
Do you know, when you think about marketing, when you think about SEO, when you think about searchability, people can't type in the podcast.
Yes, they can.
Nothing is going to come back.
Look,
You'll never come up.
If the acronym is the Hate Everything podcast, and it's just the podcast. Then you become the #1 podcast because you're the podcast.
But no one will find you in the first place. It was the same thing with bits. It's like if someone typed in bits comedy or bits sketches, you'll never show up.
If we got it rolling, if we got it off the fucking ground, we could. I promise you we could.
If we do something, you don't have to do an
you
acronym.
You heard it here on the Bubble Boy podcast.
That's a great name. Bubble Boy's a great. It's no one else.
Yeah, because I thought it was a Jake Gyllenhaal fan podcast. when I first heard, I was like,
when you search Bubble Boy podcast, that is the only thing that comes up is a podcast with 12 views.
You better hope Jake Gyllenhaal never fucking gets a podcast.
The movie Bubble Boy. That was so many people are like, oh, what's your little bottle boy? Your bubble man, your soda guy, what is it? I'm like, I would get it if it was something that didn't, but like Bubble Boy is a thing. It means like a naive person. It's a Jake Gyllenhaal movie. Like Bubble Boy is a thing that exists. It's not that hard to get right. It frustrates me.
Because nobody wants to remember shit, but they'll remember the podcast.
No one, they can't search for the podcast though. They can't find it. You would tell someone, oh, yeah, search for my podcast. It's called The Podcast. And they would go on Spotify, and it would never, ever pull up.
No, but that would be like the whole plan in my head was it would always be the Hate Everything podcast. But then if it ever was trending, it would be hashtag The Podcast, all caps THE. And that would be the thing that.
And the Hate Everything podcast was mostly you talking about trans kids, and then
Tracy
going
wasn't.
Like, no.
It was just me getting corrected.
That's what I'm saying. It was you saying something and Tracy going, no, stop, and it made me deeply uncomfortable. I hated watching my parents fight.
Dude, could you imagine we'd be talking about Israel Palestine right now, and we'd be kicked off of YouTube in a second.
I had. Again, going back to like getting caught up in the business side of things, I had a ping of anxiety today because I'm like, Johnny's going to be on my podcast. And I had my first TikTok pulled today for
what did it get
community guidelines.
What did it get pulled for? What was the community
Because I said Adolf Hitler.
Oh, yeah.
And so they pulled it off of TikTok. And I'm like, well, if that's getting pulled, I'm about to do an hour and a half with Johnny.
Well, you just what it was you said I would like to see Adolf Hitler's like.
That's the thing. But it's like you have to appeal it because they'll give you a strike. I had to write in my appeal. I'm like, the joke is about the cliche of the post-credit scene villain always coming back. Not that I want to see Hitler come back. That's not. I don't want to see Hitler come back.
And that's where I'm out. That's where I'm just like, dude, fuck it. I'm gonna post another video and it's gonna be 10 times worse.
I just changed. I'm gonna post it again tomorrow. I just changed the subtitle from Adolf Hitler to Schmadolf Schmittler, and I think that'll save me.
Well, there's a lot of like I don't know if you've seen a lot of the videos on like the reels. They'll just like go silent when people are cussing.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, dude, fuck off. Do the cuss word. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, people say
we want children to watch it. Yeah.
Which I'm like, I don't think they're actually watching that close. Like, and then I posted one Adolf Hitler thing and got taken down in 45 minutes. So I guess they are.
Well, maybe they know you're Jewish.
That's the thing. They only give you so many letters in the appeal. It's tough when you start explaining a joke.
Oh,
already.
100%.
So you'd be like, no, you don't understand. I'm Jewish, and also I think it would. That's why it's funny. Adolf Hitler came back. It's totally cool. That would be funny, though.
That's it. That should be your whole second series. Is just you trying to explain why you think the Adolf Hitler joke is funny as a Jewish person.
There was a situation that came up recently where someone went back into the Vultures group chat and screenshotted a joke I made.
Oh, God.
And showed it to me and was like, what do you think about this? And I was like, okay, so it was funny, first of all.
Right.
First of all,
Did you
it
see
was
the
funny.
laugh reacts?
That's what I said. I was like, you could see 4 people also thought it was funny, so it's not all bad.
That's a win. That's a win. Sometimes there's only 15 audience members at our open mics, so that's almost a third of the crowd.
That's pretty good. For my laughs per audience member, that's not too shabby.
That's all that I care about. That's how I feel. Dude, if it got a laugh, then leave me alone.
Can I ask you, and we gotta wrap up soon.
Okay.
Can I ask you, how often do you eat it? Because I think you're genuinely one of my favorite. You're so funny. I really look up to as a writer, and then seeing at the live Beanie Boys podcast. Boy, that audience was not having a good time.
It was rough. It was rough. I mean,
you described once to me, you're like, I'm a momentum comedian.
I need to get him going.
I need to get him going. How often do you get him going versus, well, this is just going to be tough for 15 minutes?
I don't fucking know. Now, like, I can't. It's usually when it's a shorter set, and I can't get.
You don't have time.
I can't get into my thing, but that's also. I think it's a crutch I need to get off of. But I mean, I've been doing like 20-minute, 30-minute sets like consistently, and it's like not to brag. It's just how people book me now.
Sure.
And it's one of those things like it's such a.
You don't get a lot of 5-minute spots.
I don't get to like stretch my legs the way I want to or used to anymore. But I just. When I am writing, it's a lot more than you think. But it's just one of those things. You got to learn to live with it.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of the times it's just when I'm eating it, I'm just like, well, I knew it was going to be bad. I just needed to say it into a microphone so I could get the rhythm, get the pacing, see how it sounds coming out of my mouth. There's been multiple times where I say it and I go,
as I'm saying it.
As I'm saying, I'm like, oh, they think I like hate gay people. Like that's like as I'm saying it and I'm seeing like the terrified
I can
look
see
in the crowd.
how you misconstrued this.
That's where I'm fucking up because I'm saying that. Like, you know.
Yeah, I've been to a handful of shows in Denver. I'm like box office poison. Every time I go to a show, they're like, "Oh wow, it's not normally like this. Normally we have 70 people here. When you're here, there's only 5 people here. Don't know what happened. It's not normally like this." So either it's always like that, or something about me drives people away.
They book you and then they stop promoting the show. That's what it's their phone it in week.
But yeah, it'll be like 12 people in the crowd, and it's as well as you can do for 12 people.
Right.
And afterwards, like, I'm really sorry about that. It's not normally like this. It's normally a lot better. I'm really sorry about that. Like, oh, this is every show I do.
That's when you.
This is
like,
every
well,
show
book
in
me
Colorado
on a good
Springs.
one.
Yeah,
book me on a fucking good one.
This is every show in the Springs that I've done for the last 3 years.
Look, that's where you got to cut your teeth. Because honestly, I don't think you're learning when you have a big like reactive audience that's there to listen for comedy. I've seen people who I can't fucking stand, and I've seen them eat shit, just get away with bullshit because it's a large crowd that's there for comedy. Yeah, go to a bar, make 12 people who didn't even know it was fucking comedy night and are clearly annoyed. Make them laugh, and you know you got good shit.
I did for Christmas. Pike's Punks someone asked if I could come and do their Christmas party.
Mm. Oh, is that the one with BK? Yeah, he was telling me about it.
He told you about it?
He said they had like the TVs on.
So I asked him, like, can you turn the music off, turn the TVs off? And the gals were like, we can turn the music off. And I was like, what about the TVs? They're like, the GM will not allow us to turn off the TVs. So I'm like, okay. So there's just like live sports happening behind me. And I went up to the gal who's running the thing, and I asked her, oh, so do you want to go up and like say, hey, the comedians are here. We're going to do a big show. Give it up for Russell. No, you just go up there. Okay, I'll just go up there cold. Sounds good. Do you want to wait like 30 minutes because you just served dinner and everyone's like in the do you want me to wait like 20 minutes? No.
Oh my
okay,
God.
cool. All right.
Oh
Last question. Do they know stand-up comedy is happening at your work party? And she's like, oh, well, I put it in the newsletter.
Oh, okay.
Because everyone reads their company's newsletter. So yeah.
Just set up for failure.
So I went up there just like, hey, is this thing on? Doing everything I can to get them to listen to me for 12 minutes. But I cannot because I'm not good enough. Also, there's 45 of them who just sat down for dinner with all of their coworkers.
So they're talking.
Like, they're all talking. We just sat down for dinner, and no one told us a comment. So, like, I'm talking to Steven, and we're having dinner. So no one's listening to me. There's 2 gals in the front who are listening, and one of which is just talking at me the entire time. And I can't really be like, stop talking, because you're the only one who's engaged. So I can't really tell you to shut up right now. So I go up there and eat it for 12 minutes trying to get anything to happen. Nothing happens. So I'm all right. Coming up next, Austin Brinker.
Come on.
Austin gets up there, and he's supposed to do 20. And he starts off with like, hey, isn't Russell bad? Isn't he terrible at comedy? And that gets him for a second. I'm like, all right, do whatever you got to do.
Right.
I understand. And it was like a vision clinic, laser eye surgery, eye doctors. And he goes, hey, has anyone ever anyone ever come in here because they've had too much jizz in their eyes? Second thing he said.
Come on.
Loses all of them again. He's up there for 15 minutes, and BK's like, light him. Please light him. Please light him. And I'm like, no. Austin wouldn't light me. He would let me suffer. I'm letting him suffer.
He said I was bad at comedy,
so I'm letting him suffer.
I want to see a good person at comedy.
And BK was like begging me. He's like, it's the right thing to do. I'm like, all right. So at like 18 minutes, I lit Austin. He's like, I don't need a light, Russell. I'm a professional or whatever. I'm like, all right. So then he went 5 minutes over, eating it the entire time. Then BK gets up there, and he's handsome and brown, so they kind of paid attention for a second, and then they backed off. And he told me not to share the video, but he didn't tell me not to talk about it. But at one point, they're not listening to. He goes, Russell, pull out your phone. This is going to be interesting. And I go, okay. So I pull out my phone, and he just goes, because we have a wireless mic, and he goes table to table. Like, why are you not listening to me? This is my dream, and you're shitting on it. This is everything I've ever worked for, and you're being rude. Look at me. Turn around and look at me. Turn around. I know you can hear me. I know you can hear me. I have a microphone. Turn around and look at me.
And they were just fucking cold shouldering him?
They were just cold shouldering him.
Oh, my God.
And at one point, he was just like, I don't know. You clearly don't care about my jokes, so let's just do some Q&A. And some gal was like, what's your favorite kind of comedy? He's like, the kind where people listen to me. Next question. And as an artist, I was like, good, BK, good.
Yeah, no.
But then as the guy who was supposed to get paid, I'm like, shut BK.
Hey, look,
okay.
Hey, when it's that,
stop.
It's over. We've lost. All right, there's been a couple
we
times.
We can still get the money.
Nah, fuck it. Fuck the money.
Sometimes I'm an artist. Sometimes I'm a whore. And I'm like, I need give me the money.
Look, you're lucky you didn't book me. You're lucky
I know.
You're lucky I
would never. I know better.
Oh, so no one gives a fuck? I'm pulling my dick out. Like, you know?
I'm just going to say it for the next 15 minutes.
I'm going to pull my dick out. If you guys don't listen, I'm going to pull it out. I think the worst bomb I've ever seen. Well, I was in Memphis, and there was this nice little cafe, and it was a black-owned cafe, and at night they would open it up and do an open mic. You can do poetry, come do music, come do comedy, and it was like one of the hottest fucking spots in town. It was really cool. And there was this dude, and he was known for kind of like going at the crowd, like, you know, I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna roast you, I'm gonna check you, all this sort of shit. And he starts checking this guy in the crowd, but he's losing, and he like can't win. Like no matter what he's saying, like the dude in the audience would say something like, huh, well, that's why you lame. And then everybody in the crowd would be like, oh! And like I'm sitting in the back, I can't figure it out. I'm like, dude, who is this guy? Like I don't know who the fuck this guy is. It turns out that
Cat Williams.
Right. That the dude was actually the brother of the woman who owned the cafe, and everybody there that night was like a mini family reunion.
Gotcha.
So the audience is immediately on this guy's side. They hate the comic. And so the comic, he's muscling through it. He's failing with the check-in. He tries to go back into material, and then the dude's just talking shit. That joke was lame, fool. And then, oh! Every comic in the back is like, ugh, goddamn. Or like I'm in the back. I'm like, dude, bail, get out. And he's like, I'm doing my fucking set. And then he's talking, and he's still doing his set. And then the woman who owns the place, she always came out towards the end, and she'd have this tray of shots. She would call it poetry juice. It was some nice little fucking mixed drink that she would let everybody have a free shot of. And then she was walking by the stage, and then he's like, hey, man, get control of your brother. She's like, well, maybe if you had some jokes, you wouldn't have to try and check my brother. It's a little old lady. So she said that, and everybody, place explodes, boom. And the dude still has like 5 minutes left, and he's like, all right, well, I guess I'm just going to finish my set. And he starts telling jokes, and no one's fucking laughing. This old lady comes out from the back, and she has a broom, and she gets on stage and starts sweeping at his feet. And everybody loses it. And just the look of defeat in this man's eyes.
The only thing worse that could happen is if a big cane came out and grabbed him and pulled him off.
Dude, and then we get done. He walks up to me. He's like, hey, man, you think I could get a ride home? And I was like,
I don't need that in my car.
Not tonight. I was like, not tonight, man.
I don't need that energy.
I was like, I can't. I was like, I can't. You can't leave with me. I was like,
it's like smoking in my car. It's going to stay in there. It's going to be in the fiber now.
But that was the worst bomb I've ever seen. But I
What
would
a
have loved to have been
nightmare.
on your show. I would have loved to have been on. I would have flipped somebody's plate. Did you see that?
I told VK, like, you had a wireless. You should have just gone up to the buffet and started picking up food.
Right, that would have been my move. Just go make a plate while you're telling your
Yeah.
jokes. Talk shit about the food.
Hey,
Are we there?
we're there. My wife's gonna be home soon, and I have to go get my daughter.
Yeah, let's get the fuck out. Let me get the fuck out of here before your wife comes home.
Hey, Johnny, thank you so much. Is there anything you'd like to plug for anyone listening?
No.
This isn't coming out till February.
Put it out on Black History Month. Put it out on my birthday, February 28th. There you go.
I'll just delay this for another 2 months.
Bubble Boy Podcasts.
Bubble Boy
They support
Podcast.
black people.
Half.